to the Indian Society of Toxicology official YouTube channel. So it will be our first video on case discussion. So here we have Dr. V.V. Pillai, who is the founder president of IST, and we have Dr. Dhanasekaran B.S., who is the professor of emergency medicine, Department of Emergency Medicine, Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, Kochi, and we have our PG, Dr. Vivek, who is in the final year, Dr. Riaz, and all our department for this case discussion. So today we have a case discussion on paracetamol overdose. So we'll just have a presentation how the patient has been managed initially and what was the history of the patient, and then we'll go to the case discussion. Thank you.
Today we will be presenting a case. 49-year-old male was brought to the emergency department with alleged history of paracetamol overdose. Initial 10-second assessment, patient was conscious, oriented, obeying to commands. Airway is patent with normal C-spine movements, no abnormal secretions, no features of upper airway obstruction like stridor. Breathing, bilateral air entry is present, vesicular breath sounds are heard all over the chest fields, respiratory rate is 18 cycles per minute. Circulation, BP is 130 on 90, pulse rate is 60, all peripheral pulses are equally felt. Disability with decontamination, E3, V4, M5, pupils are 2.5 mm equally reacting. Exposure, temperature is 96 with GRBS of 105. With this primary survey, we asked for adjuncts to primary survey like ABG and ECG. Then we are proceeding with sample history. Patient have no known allergens, not on any regular medication. Last meal is 4 hours back. Events and environment leading to this history. Patient have consumed 30 tablets of paracetamol 650 mg at around 10:30 p.m. with mixing it with water. No other co-ingestions as per history. Patient had throat discomfort and upper abdominal discomfort after 1 hour. Then he reached nearby hospital. In hospital, they have given gastric decontamination. They have placed a Ryle's tube and they have given stomach wash, and they have referred the patient to us for further evaluation. This is the short history. Then proceeding to detailed history, head-to-toe examination, there is no pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing or pedal edema. In systemic examination, cardiovascular system S1, S2 is present, no abnormal breath sounds, no abnormal sounds. Respiratory system, vesicular breath sounds are heard, no added sounds. Neurological status is normal, higher mental function is normal, cranial nerves are normal, motor and sensory system is normal, cerebellar signs are negative. Then musculoskeletal system examination is within normal limit. In this case, we received the patient within 4 hours of ingestion of toxins. So we planned for activated charcoal. Activated charcoal is given at 1 gram per kg. So we gave 50 gram of activated charcoal for GI decontamination for our patient. Then we proceeded with management. Since we received the patient within 4 hours, we took samples for toxicological screening. We sent it for paracetamol level. Then by this time we asked for routine blood investigations like CBC, CRP, RFT, LFT, PT, APTT, INR, and basic bedside ultrasound to understand the liver status. Now proceeding to our diagnosis. This patient have consumed paracetamol tablet 650 mg, that is 30 tablets, which is more than 7.5 gram, that is a toxic dose. So this patient have ingested a significant amount of paracetamol which can cause hepatotoxicity. So by this time our lab reports came. Our paracetamol level is above the treatment line in Rumac-Matthew normogram. So we started a 21-hour NAC protocol, that is Bronac protocol, of which we prefer 150 milligram per kg for first hour and 50 milligram per kg for 4 hours, then 100 milligram per kg for next 16 hours. We follow it up. and routine lab investigation is sent. By this time, our ABG and ECG is ready. ABG shows pH of 7.39, PCO2 of 38, and bicarb of 24, lactate of 1.1. There is no significant metabolic acidosis or acid-base disturbances in first ABG. Then ECG is in sinus rhythm. No other arrhythmias noted in ECG. Then our lab investigations were within normal limit. CBC, LFT, RFT, everything were fine. So we continued NAC protocol for 21 hours. Then we repeated sample. By repeat, paracetamol level is after 20 hours it is 5 microns, which is below treatment line. Then we stopped NAC infusion and we changed to injections. Patient improves symptomatically, and after 2 days patient is getting discharged.
Yeah, that is a good presentation. I have a few questions. First of all, is it confirmed that he ingested 30 tablets, or you are not very sure how many tablets he ingested?
So, by history, patient is having full sensorium, sir. E4, E5, M6 is there, and he verbally says that he consumed only paracetamol tablet, which is 650 milligram and 30 tablet, and he is also
how much will that translate to in terms of paracetamol level when you estimate paracetamol concentration at 4 hours? Approximately.
Serum paracetamol level you are asking, sir?
Yes. Was it done in this
Yes,
case? Yes. What was the concentration at 4 hours?
88, sir.
88. You plotted it on that nomogram. And you found it below the risk line or
Yes.
above?
Below.
Below. And you gave NAC.
Yes.
If it is below the risk line, why was NAC given?
Okay, sir. Things is patient have consumed significant amount, sir. If it is more than 7.5 gram means we can go ahead, sir. Even if it is below, there is 4-5 indications for there for starting NAC, sir. One is if multiple injections at multiple intervals, and exact thing if it is not known, or if it is significantly high amount which we suspect which can cause hepatotoxicity, then we can start NAC, sir.
Suppose, I'm not very sure about this case. What was the ALT like at the time of admission?
At the time of admission, it is 45s and 50s value, sir.
So it was normal.
Normal.
Suppose ALT was abnormal, but when you get the paracetamol concentration,
Yes.
it is not above the risk line.
Okay.
What will you do?
Okay. If paracetamol level it is normal and ALT level is more than 1000 means, then also we can start NAC, sir.
So what will be the endpoints like? Will you look at again paracetamol concentration, or will you look at only hepatic functions?
Hepatic function, sir. If ALT we are checking means ALT, there is a direct correlation between ALT and hepatic toxicity. So ideally we can believe on ALT and start NAC.
Would you like to do anything aside from ALT in such a case where you want to take a decision that you are not going to follow the nomogram? In addition to ALT, would you like to look at something else?
GGT.
Would you like to look at INR? Not
Yes.
necessary.
Yes, sir.
Sir may have some questions.
See, regarding the confirmation of this one you told the history of the patient. Whether there was some evidence they brought their tablets,
Listen,
this
no, sir,
foil or anything, or on verbal?
they haven't shown that empty strips of medicine to us, sir.
Okay.
In terms of milligram per kg, what is the cutoff line between paracetamol concentration that is not likely to cause problem and likely to produce toxicity?
Okay. 150 milligram per kg will be the thing. It will be the dose, sir. But based on baseline liver function, this value changes, sir. So, for example, if a patient is having already a liver disease, then even a smaller dose than that can cause hepatotoxicity. And thing is, in children, this toxicity might not be happening in normal dose because their liver have much regeneration capacity, sir.
What do you think is the risk in the case of children? Is it more or less as compared to adults?
Less compared to adults.
What about neonates?
Neonates, I'm not sure.
There are reports that it is more serious. You don't have to follow necessarily paracetamol level. If there is a history of ingestion overdose, paracetamol better to start NAC in neonates. Is there any risk with regard to NAC, giving NAC?
Yes. While giving NAC, patient can develop anaphylaxis. A patient can develop hypotension or hypertension, but it will be usually managed like other normal anaphylaxis only, sir.
This anaphylactoid reaction that is seen with NAC, have you come across here?
Yes, sir.
Paracetamol?
Yes, sir. We have seen
overdose?
2-3 patients whom we have given NAC have developed anaphylaxis. We will.
So what will you do? Suppose somebody develops anaphylactoid reaction. After that, what is your approach to the paracetamol overdose?
Okay, sir. First thing is we will stop NAC, sir. Then we will treat those anaphylaxis. If patient is having urticariamines, then H1 and H2 antihistamines we will give with steroids, sir. Preferably hydrocortisone 5 mg per kg. We will
Are you
give.
sure steroids do help in anaphylactoid reactions?
In anaphylaxis, steroids will help, sir.
I would like you to take a relook at current concept as to
Okay.
whether steroids do help in anaphylactoid reaction or not, or whether you can manage with H1, H2 antihistamine, maybe adrenaline, whatever
Adrenaline.
it is. But I think you need to look at steroids once again as to whether that is currently recommended, especially in case of N-acetylcysteine. Fairly certain that it is not recommended anymore because it's of no benefit. That's what recent reports suggest. I have one more question with regard to N-acetylcysteine. Suppose you know for sure somebody has had a reaction to N-acetylcysteine earlier, maybe another episode of paracetamol overdose. So he's a known allergic patient to NAC. Would you like to change your approach with regard to this 21-hour protocol, or would you still continue with this only?
If we think patient have taken a significant amount of paracetamol that can cause hepatotoxicity, we can continue with same 21 hours with precautions. We can continue, sir. We should be getting ready with our airway devices, and we should be ready to manage this anaphylaxis, and we will continue with same.
Are you aware of SNAP? SNAP. You've heard of the expression SNAP in terms of paracetamol overdose? Patients who are allergic to NAC. Please do read that also. That's also a recent development. It actually stands out. It's an abbreviation. It's an acronym for Scottish and Newcastle acetylcysteine protocol. Scottish and Newcastle acetylcysteine protocol. That is recommended for those who are known allergic patients to acetylcysteine. That is a 12-hour protocol. Same dose, total dose, how much actually NAC by the end of the 21-hour protocol? How much are you giving total in terms of mg per kg?
mg per kg.
When you say, 1 hour you are giving so much, and then 4 hours you are giving so much, and 16 hours. So total comes to at the end of that 21 hours, how much have you given NAC total in terms of mg per kg? Whether you use 21 hour or any other modified protocol, that is important to remember. 300 mg per kg. So 300 mg per kg can be delivered in 21 hours. That's a conventional protocol, what you mentioned. There's also the SNAP, which is for those who are allergic to acetylcysteine, where you give, if I recall correctly, over first 2 hours, 100 mg per kg in 200 ml dextrosaline, followed by over 10 hours, 200 mg per kg in 1 liter. That is a SNAP. That is Scottish Newcastle acetylcysteine protocol. That is a new development. It has not been ratified by toxicologists as a consensus. This is followed right now in UK. Scottish, it is from National Poison Information Services of UK. They have published it, I think, 2020, earlier this year. They are waiting for feedback. But they are following it in their hospitals across UK. And maybe we can try it if at all you come across a patient where he has got some allergic history or he has got an allergic tendency. Who else is susceptible to anaphylactic reactions? Who are known to probably have problem if you give NAC, and you should be careful. And maybe you can think of some prophylactic measures to prevent anaphylactic reaction. Would you like to consider prophylaxis or?
Till now we haven't tried like this. If patient is developing anaphylaxis, then we will be ready to manage it. Prophylactically, we haven't given medicines and started.
If it is a staggered overdose, suppose somebody has taken some tablets now, then about 2 hours later he's taken another significant dose, then about few hours later then he's been brought to hospital. Will your approach change or will you follow the same?
Sir, if patient have multiple doses of injections, that's what you're asking.
Yes. Multiple doses over a period of time.
Okay. Then patient will be. We have to see what how many hours have the patient reached us, sir.
Will the nomogram help?
No.
So what will you use as the yardstick for NAC?
Then we have to use PTINR, AST, ALTS.
Is the paracetamol hemodialysable? Will you consider dialysis in a severe case of paracetamol overdose?
Mars, some studies are there, sir. 6 to 7 sessions of Mars we can try with 6-hour sessions. Dialysis.
Can renal failure develop in paracetamol overdose?
Paracetamol can cause acute tubulointerstitial necrosis and transient renal failure it can develop, but it will be reversible if NAC we are giving you.
Suppose you have lactic acidosis associated with the renal failure.
Lactic acidosis may be directly due to hepatic injury, sir, or hepatic necrosis.
All right, let's say it's hepatorenal, whatever it is. In a patient like that, what will your approach be? In addition to acetylcysteine, what will you consider?
Then lactate more than 4 means then we have to apply King's College criteria and consider for transplant also, sir.
And also, I think, try dialyzing. If it doesn't work, yes, last resort. But yes, dialysis, one indication is there for paracetamol, though it is strictly speaking not dialysable. It's not easily dialysable. But if you have these criteria in place, then you can dialyze also. Sir, any other questions?
So how will you assess the airway generally in a patient coming to you?
Assessment of airway starts with secretions, whether any secretions is there. Secretion may be in terms of saliva or blood, or we have to see whether any tongue fall is there.
So first thing in total is there any obstruction or not? The airway obstruction. So it may be from anywhere upper airway or lower airway. Number 2, if there is, you suspect an obstruction because of some clinical features and signs. Next one is you have to infer whether it is partial obstruction or complete obstruction. So how will you know that there is an airway obstruction? You are telling what all things in that.
Basic thing you can see is whether we can see whether gurgling noise is there, whether
different
stridor is there.
noises. Okay. Gurgling. Then
Stridor.
what does gurgling denote?
Secretions in upper airway, sir.
Very good. Okay. Next one.
Stridor. Stridor also fixed obstruction in upper airway or maybe in lower airway also.
Okay.
Then while auscultating, we can see for crepitations in chest.
Okay, what does snoring denote? The patient is coming here. Snoring noise. What do you suspect?
Tongue fall.
Tongue falling back. Very good. Okay. See, you told stridor. See whether it will be inspiratory or expiratory. Or even without stridor, is there any chance that patient is having airway obstruction? Is it necessary to hear the stridor sound?
It is not necessary to hear stridor always, sir. Without stridor also patient can have airway compromise.
Okay. Suppose the patient is coming to your with stridor. So the stridor initially it increases, suddenly it vanishes. What does it denote?
Maybe the foreign particle is slipping and going in, or if it is a non-fixed foreign particle, it can get dissolved. For example, if it
The
is
partial airway obstruction is becoming complete obstruction. Now the chest will not be moving. Okay. This one by one, how will you next step? You suspect an airway obstruction. What are the things will you do?
okay. If we are suspecting airway obstruction, means we have to see saturation. If patient is put mask and start oxygen, sir, then we have simple maneuvers to adjust airway, like chin lift or jaw thrust we can use, sir. That might help in keeping airway pattern. If
See, before putting the
suction.
mask, you have to open the airway. For this, there are two things. One is simple maneuvers, and then once you open, you have to look into the passage. What is the cause for the obstruction? So it may be liquid, vomitus, or blood, or foreign material, solid, these things. So you have to clear.
Obstruction may be in terms of liquids and solid objects. If liquid objects are there, like secretions and blood, we can put suction and take it out. If fixed objects is there, for example, something which we can see orally, if we can take it out, we can use, if sensorium is bad, and we can use McGill's forceps for picking up those objects.
So I'll close by asking you one final question. In this case, was gastric decontamination done
Yes, sir.
by you or the
Yes.
other hospital?
Other hospital, they have taken aspirate, sir. We did gastric decontamination.
They did aspiration.
Aspirate.
Is there part of decontamination?
Yes, yes,
Aspiration is decontamination.
yes.
Or is it stomach wash that should have been done? What's the difference between aspirating and doing a stomach wash?
Aspirating is just taking samples, sir. Stomach wash is you flush saline and take it out till samples are getting clear.
When you aspirate in a case of paracetamol overdose, is there some danger? When you aspirate, what are you taking out mostly?
Mucus and remnant particles of what? Undigested remnant particles.
Mostly fluid.
Fluid.
Will the particles of undigested tablet come into the aspiration tube?
If it is small, means it will come, sir.
May not also.
Yes.
That will increase the concentration, increase chances of overdose manifestations developing earlier. So you should not actually do aspiration, you should do a stomach wash. In a case of paracetamol overdose, like in every case of within 1 hour or 2 hours of ingestion. Beyond that, not recommended generally, because there is a good antidote. What about activated charcoal? Is it helpful or not in paracetamol?
Activated charcoal, if it is more useful if we are giving within 1 hour, sir.
Is it
But
adsorbable?
adsorbent, AD.
Will paracetamol be adsorbed by activated charcoal or not? Is it adsorbable?
Yes.
In that case, don't you think hemoperfusion should work? Does it work in paracetamol overdose?
Charcoal hemoperfusion?
It works.
No.
Doesn't?
No.
Not very well adsorbed by activated charcoal. But you can give it because it is something that can produce benefit even if not 100%. It is not very well adsorbed by activated charcoal. But it's recommended that you can do it. Stomach wash, activated charcoal within 1 to 2 hours. Aside from that, nothing much by way of immediate measures. You have to wait, you have to do the nomogram, consider NAC, supporting measures, and in rare cases, hemodialysis, things like that. So I think that is fairly good by way of a overall look at paracetamol overdose, and we would like to thank you for a good presentation.